Hi, everybody, and welcome to Becoming Iris. Today's episode, I'm really excited to be speaking to a special guest, Prue Rustean from Earth Altering. So I met Prue here in Western Australia, and we're actually facilitating at a retreat together. And it was the first time I'd met Prue, and to be honest, the first time I'd really come across this type of earth artistry. I'd seen earth altars before, but had not been involved in like the creation of them. And it was such a beautiful experience. And then Prue and I got to know each other a bit, and we've ended up collaborating, and absolutely love the work that she does. So, are you a starseed? Do you have a mission here on Earth? Do you sometimes struggle to fit in? You're in the right place. Join me and special guests as we share our personal stories as galactic ground crew here on Becoming Iris. So thank you for joining me today, Prue. It's lovely to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I would love you to share in your own words a little bit about what it is that you actually do. So for people who've never heard of, earth artistry or earth altering, like what is that? And can you just share a little bit more about what it is that you do?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I create artwork out of natural material found in nature. So the foraging and, like walking around in nature and bushwalks and hikes and things like that are mainly where I find my materials. But it's things like shells and rocks and flowers and different types of plants or bark or things that have fallen onto the ground, all sorts of different things. Like once you start looking around, you just start noticing things everywhere. And basically I create like mandala shaped artworks out of these materials. And yeah, they're generally kind of like a mandala, but they're always a little bit different depending on where I am and what I'm doing it for. And yeah, I kind of use them for me, I've been using them as a tool for healing through nature and tapping into my creativity.
Beautiful. And so when you say you've been using them as a tool for healing and tapping into nature, like, are you able to speak a little bit into how you came into this type of artistry and your own journey with it? I'm really interested to know how you came to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, back in 2020, I got really unwell. And I ended up in hospital for a few months and had a lot going on in my body that was basically caused from chronic stress and burnout. And I had like really chronic pain in my body and swelling, and there was a lot going on. And I ended up getting diagnosed with lupus and a lymphoma. So that was like a time of my life that I had to really just like look at the path that I was on and start to make some changes, because yeah, obviously the path that I was heading in kind of led me to be in that situation. So I had like a good year where I really didn't have much energy, and some days like I couldn't get out of bed. So something that was really helping me to feel better was just to be outside in nature. And there wasn't much that I could do, but that felt like it was something that I could actually do that felt like it was helping me, and not just like it was helping kind of all different aspects of me, like my mind, my spirit, and yeah, like more on a soul level. I started to feel like, oh, this is actually something that, I couldn't do much else. So I was like, this is something that's easy for me to just go and sit outside on the grass. I was lucky to be living in an area that had a lot of nature around. So I started just, every day I'd make sure I'd just go and sit on the grass. And I started to make these little altars just out of like flowers and things like that I'd find in the garden. And they were just really simple, like sometimes just like a circle of flowers. And I had read a lot of books during that time, and really like delved into natural healing and things like that, and was really resonating with learning about the elements, so fire, water, air, and earth, and also how each of those correlate with a different part of ourselves. So our air correlates with our mental health, fire, our spirit, water, our emotions, and earth, our body. So that was something that I was really noticing that I had never really like paid much attention to before. So during that time, I was really consciously like bringing my attention to those parts of myself, and just started to understand how out of balance they were. And I also read about how you can kind of use, like there's many different cultures and countries that create these mandala type artworks. And I was reading about how you can use them as a medicine wheel. So that was something that I started to do with these little mini mandalas that I was making. And that was just really profound for me, particularly when I would tune into like the water element and my emotions, and just like being outside in nature on my own and feeling like I felt safe to actually express my emotions and like let them out was really big for me, because I was somebody that had trouble with expressing emotion. So during that time, I spent a lot of time like pretty much just crying into my earth altars, which felt like, something that was really needed. And it was just amazing to me that, it took something like the loss of my health for me to realize these things. So basically, I had a lot of time up my sleeve, and I started making really elaborate ones, just because I had the time. And that ended up, I was sharing a little bit on social media, like not much, but I ended up being asked to do one for an event. And I think as my social media started to grow from there, I just started to realize how much people were resonating with this kind of work. And it was nothing new, none of this is new, like connecting to the elements and nature. But I feel like we're in a time where we really just need that reminder. We've got so many distractions, and I could just see that obviously like it wasn't just me that was getting something out of it. Like I feel like there is a real craving in the world for a reconnection back to nature and ourselves before we reach these points of burnout and illness in the body. For me, like it was a really powerful healing tool was how it started with that, and it's now kind of evolved into a business which I never expected it to be, like there wasn't the intention behind it, but I feel like it's kind of brought me back into alignment, and I feel like it's got a mind of its own.
There's obviously a lot of people that are very, as you said, drawn to this. And what is it that you feel specifically like, because with your sharing on social media, you do have a lot of people that follow your page. So what do you feel it is specifically that draws people to your page? Like, why do you think so many people are interested in earth altering?
Yeah, I think I get a lot of people commenting and writing me messages and actually just thanking me for kind of the reminder to slow down. And I think the artworks that I do they're all very unique and they're always different. But I feel like it's nature that is like that makes them so beautiful. Like each of the flowers, the shells, and each of these elements are already like works of art. So they can't look bad. Like I feel like when you work in nature, like it's the work's already done in terms of the creativity part in a way. I mean, obviously, like everyone has their own unique energy that they can bring to what they do with that. But I think it also inspires people that it's something really easy that you can do, and anyone can do it. And yeah, I get a lot of people being like, I literally just watch your time lapses of you creating these, and it's helping, like it makes me feel more relaxed, or inspired me. Or I think people are just, it's obviously sparking something within people that is almost like, I think it's in us, like these things have been part of our cultures and our lives for centuries. And it is something that is in us that's maybe like sparking something from, lifetimes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And I feel like it is so relaxing. It's also like almost like a moving meditation, watching those time lapse videos. It's sort of transporting you, and you feel the energy of whatever elements you're working with. And I love how you weave into your work the element of the season, and it's very relatable to what we're moving through at that time. So yeah, it's so beautiful. I absolutely love it. I'm really interested to know, Prue, just going back a little bit in time, like what was your life before you came to this work, and what kind of work did you do pre this? What was your, matrix work, if you like?
Well, I've had so many different jobs throughout my life. Like I almost feel like if you name it, I have done it. I've had reception jobs, like proper 9 to 5 office jobs, like being a receptionist. I've had waitressing jobs. I've had worked on Channel 9, in TV, doing producing. Yeah, I've had travel agent jobs, so many different things. I feel like I really have like dipped my toe into everything. But I have always been quite business minded. Like I've done a couple of business courses and studied. And before I was doing this, like before I got really sick, I actually had a different business, and it was a picnic business, which was doing really well. Like it was a successful business. It was over in Byron Bay on the east coast of Australia. And so, yeah, basically I would like have all of the picnic equipment, like the rugs and cushions and umbrellas and everything. And, I've always been really passionate about connecting people with nature and connecting with nature myself. So that was a really big part of that business as well, was to find beautiful secluded places in nature. And I would set up a picnic, and I would do like a platter, a grazing platter with fruit and cheese and crackers and dips and things. And people would come and enjoy their picnic, and they wouldn't have the hassle of setting it up or packing down. And it was also a good way for people to experience new places that they may not have known about. So I got a lot of joy out of providing people with that experience. And like, especially when I would go and pack up when I'd first arrive, it was very much people would rock up, and it was very much about taking photos for Instagram and a lot of that. And then when I would come back to pack it up, if they were still there, I would just love how much they had changed. Like then they would have their shoes off, and they were actually connecting with each other, and they were relaxed. And you could see how much just like putting people in that natural environment was really beneficial. Like that I guess, I could really see that to believe it. But yeah, the business was really, it's got really busy, and it was something that was a lot of stress on my body. Like I was carting a lot of things back and forth to these hard to reach places. And yeah, like there was physical stress and there was mental stress. And looking back on it, like, when I got unwell, a lot of the medical people was asking me if I was stressed, and I really didn't believe that I was like, no, I'm not really a stressed person. And then once I had started doing some of this healing and just like a lot of meditation and breath work and things like that, I actually went to a quantum healing place, and I had a high resting heart rate. And then I did like a meditation thing there with some of their equipment. And after, it pretty much puts your body into a parasympathetic state. And afterwards, they tested my heart rate and it was normal, and I could feel the difference in my body, like from when I arrived to after I did that. And he was like, that feeling, what you're feeling now is what you need to be in to heal. Like, your body can't heal if it's not in a parasympathetic state. And then that's when the penny really dropped for me, and I was like, wow, okay, I haven't felt like that for a really long time. So even though I didn't think that I was stressed, my body was actually in fight or flight, and I was just used to feeling like that. Like, that was just normal for me. So I didn't think that I was a stressed person, but my body was, it was actually, yeah, it was stressed. And when I look back on it, there was a lot going on for me, and there was a lot that I was doing that was out of alignment. Like, you know, I, even though I was doing well, and I had created this life that I wanted, there was a lot of things that now, like looking back now, you can see it, but obviously when you're in it, you're in it. But, you know, there was things about that business that used to really annoy me. Like, there was a lot of waste, and I felt like I was wanting to make it more sustainable, but that meant I had to spend more money, and there was all these things that weren't completely in alignment for me. And I think there was all sorts of things that I was doing in my life that were the same as well. When I look back, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't in alignment, but I was ignoring it. And I guess I hadn't given myself that time to really check in and notice it. So yeah, this business now, and how I obviously feel like I've been like picked up and put onto a different path, and I needed that kind of wake up call to get me onto a path that is much more in alignment. And now, like, going into this business, now that this has become a business, like, my intentions behind it are really different to any other job I've ever had. Like, now that I'm so aware about how important my health is and what it means if your health is suffering, my highest intention has always been to prioritize my health in this business from the beginning. And yeah, it's actually a business that supports my health as well. So it feels really good to finally be doing something that's aligned.
Yeah. And I think people can feel that energy, and it's almost like you're magnetizing, because you're so much in alignment. People are magnetized to that. And one of the things that I also really love about the work you do is that sustainability, and that, yeah, can you share a little bit about the sustainable aspect to it, and how you come to, you know, how you collect those materials and things like that, because I find that all really beautiful.
Yeah, that's like one of the things, because, you know, these days it's really hard to do anything without with it being 100% sustainable. Like, that was something that used to really, like, I used to put a lot of thought into, because it is a high value of mine to be doing something that's not like having a negative impact on the earth. So I just love that this is something that is fully sustainable. So everything that I use in the altars are found around nature, basically. So I think it's really important to be mindful when foraging, and, you know, to really like tune into where you are and the plant that you're taking from. I prefer to take things that have like already fallen off trees, and, you know, things that are already on the ground. But there is definitely times when I will take flowers, like cut flowers off trees and things like that. I even actually have a place, well, before I go into that, I think it's really important to ask permission from the plant. So yeah, like I will either, I've tuned into plants before and got really loud messages that it's to not take from that plant. And I feel like that's a really important part about the foraging process, is to just get quiet and be mindful, and just try and tune into your surroundings enough to be able to hear your intuition, I suppose. And I feel like nature really does speak to us if we get quiet enough to listen. So that practice in itself is really beneficial. And if I do take from a plant, if I feel like it is okay, I will make sure, there's a rule that I always stick to never take the first flower and never take the last. And to also make sure that there is still enough flowers on the plant for it to continue to grow and thrive. So obviously just being really mindful with how much you take. But the thing is, like, nature is so abundant and it is a replenishing source. And, sometimes cutting back flowers and things off these bushes actually promotes growth and helps them to grow more. So just being quite mindful with that, but also acknowledging that, there's so much abundance in nature when you start looking around, and if we're caring for it. So also I try and offer something back to the plant or the thing that you're taking from, whether it's just a prayer or maybe giving it some water, or sometimes clearing some rubbish that's around it. Always trying to give back to it in some way, I think, is quite important as well. But yeah, I've also got a couple of, back when I was in WA, I've got a couple of houses where I've gotten to know the people that live there that have beautiful rose gardens. And I've gone and knocked on the door before and asked if I could take a couple of roses, because I had an event where I was making one and I was really drawn to including roses. And every time I've done that and I've spoken to the people whose garden it is, they're just so stoked for me to actually use them when they hear what I'm using them for. So I just think there's that permission piece that's really important, wherever if it's, as long as you've kind of got permission before you've taken them, I feel like that's a really important part of the process. And that energy, the creation of the altar kind of starts there, and that energy will actually come out of the altar as well.
Beautiful. And I also love having seen how you complete the process like that. Can you share a little bit about, once it's complete, how that works?
Yeah, and I think that's ties into the sustainability of it as well, is that, there's no waste at the end. Nothing is ever wasted. So if I'm building an altar outside, I like to be able to leave it there to kind of, everything that it's made out of is from nature, so it can just be left there. And I think that's really beautiful if you can do it on a place where you can leave it, and then over time see the process of it breaking down and decomposing and going through those different stages of life and death. And there's a lot of beauty in being able to see that process. But if I'm in a place where I can't, where it needs to be packed up, say if it's indoors in a yoga studio or something, I will collect the things back up that I can reuse. And I'm making these all the time, so they're always getting reused. But then there are things that are maybe more plant matter and things that I'm probably not going to necessarily reuse. And I like the concept of giving it back to the earth in some way. So giving it back to the elements, either sharing them with a water source, so in the ocean or a river or a lake, can be a really nice ritual to kind of give back in that way, and offer a blessing to the waters. Maybe scatter them in the wind and let the wind just take them out into the world. Bury them in the garden, or scatter them in the garden, or just bury them in the earth in some way. Or burning them in ritual in a fire. So I feel whatever element is kind of speaking to you, that is a really nice way to kind of offer them back and complete that full cycle of life that kind of keeps on going.
Yeah, beautiful. I absolutely love it. So what would you recommend, Prue, for people that maybe are just hearing about this for the first time but are really intrigued and they're wanting to maybe give this a try or incorporate this type of practice? What would you suggest for people that are just kind of starting out?
Yeah, so I think it's something that a lot of people feel like they don't have time for, like as an adult in this world that we live in, that it's not really a priority to go looking for treasure in nature and do this process. And I can totally understand why. But I think, it's really important for us to start making time to not necessarily like even create an earth altar in particular, but to make some time to become quiet and, to step outside of our busy lives, even if it's just for half an hour or 15 minutes, if you can find, to just go and connect with the earth or with nature, even if that's just going and sitting outside on the grass and putting your bare feet on the ground and, taking a moment to look around and notice the natural beauty around us, or watch the clouds, lie down and watch the clouds float. Even just dedicating some time to do that, I feel like is really important these days. And it's something that we kind of have to be reminded to do now. Something we probably used to do a lot more often without thinking about it. But we're now living in a time where we can go days or weeks without consciously connecting with nature. And, we've got so much technology around us and so many distractions. So my biggest advice is to just make some time to do nothing and put your technology away and go outside, immerse yourself in nature, even if it's just in your backyard for 5 minutes and 5-10 minutes, and then just see what comes from that. I feel like there's a lot of inspiration from simply just doing that. And I guess that's where the inspiration came from me to start doing these earth altars. And the people that really do want to start creating one for themselves, you can start off really simply, and it can be like one day collecting a couple of things, and that's your connection with nature. And then the next day maybe putting them together, and then another time actually like delving a bit deeper and using your earth altar to connect with yourself or manifest something. Or there's so many different things that you can use them for. So just like whenever you find some time, having some like experimenting with that. And I feel like when we allow ourselves to do nothing and maybe even get bored, which is something that not many people do these days, like that's when those nuggets of information come through to us. And that's often when we get inspired. And I know for me, that's when I create things of value, when I'm actually just like not doing and I'm just being for a moment. And in meditation and things like that, when we're just quietening our mind, is really needed to be able to create and to have those new ideas and things like that. So I guess my advice is to just schedule in some time to do nothing.
And I feel that's a really beautiful aspect of this earth artistry and earth altering, is that for people who maybe struggle to sit still in meditation, and the thought of doing that for them is quite uncomfortable, or maybe they're like, that's just something at the moment I physically can't do, that they can actually go into that meditative process through the act of the foraging and, like actually working with the hands. And it's like it's almost giving you something to do, which in itself is putting you into that flow state or that meditation, but through that creation. So I think for people that need to keep busy and they want to move their hands and they want to sort of be active, but also free from technology, immersed in nature, and like, working with the elements, but in a physical way, rather than just sitting and traditionally meditating.
Absolutely. It's like a moving meditation. And that, for me, like feeling what it feels like to get into that parasympathetic state, when I'm creating these earth altars, that gets me there. So I feel like, yeah, it almost forces you to go into more of a meditative state, because it is hard sometimes to just sit and quieten your mind for 20 minutes. Like, I struggle to do that too. But yeah, definitely.
Okay. And if people are interested in perhaps, learning more about the art of it and getting into maybe working with the elements and things like that, how can people do that? Is that something that they can do with you? I'd just love you to share a little bit more about what it is that you actually offer.
Yeah, so I currently have a few different offerings. At the moment, I'm traveling around Australia. So I'm currently in South Australia, and I am offering in-person workshops along the way. So at these workshops, we do like a bit of a meditation, and we connect in with the elements, and then we create an earth altar as a group, which is a really beautiful experience. And it's something that, it's anyone can do with a group of friends or with their family or their kids or something, because it's also a nice way to connect with other people. And there's a lot of teachings that come up in the process when you do this, when you create these earth altars, and especially as a group. I feel like it really helps you to let go of perfectionist traits and just allow things to unfold, and other people to bring in their ideas, and to just enter into a flow state with other people is a really beautiful experience. So I've got a couple of those around the country, and I have on my website and on my Instagram, there is links to all the upcoming workshops. So if you're in Australia, you can find out if there's any of them near you through the Instagram. And also there's an option to subscribe to my mailing list. So I will send out emails when I've got new workshops that have been confirmed. So that's a good way to stay in the loop as well. And then I also offer an online course which can be done by anyone anywhere in the world. And it's a self-paced course, so you can kind of dip in and out of it whenever you have time. And it goes into the teachings about how to create your own earth altar, places to start with the creation process if some people feel a bit overwhelmed with that part. So there's examples of places you can start. It goes into like acknowledging the original custodians of the land that you're on and how you can do that, and the foraging experience. And then it goes really in depth into each of the elements and those parts of our body: mental, physical, emotional and spiritual, and how you can use your altar to help balance those within yourself. So that one you can find through my Instagram and my website as well. There's links to the course, and I've got lots of things that are like in the process, and definitely more things to be announced in the future with time. So I think the best way is to kind of find out about them is by following along the Instagram. I'm pretty active on there, and subscribing to my mailing list.
And your Instagram is earth.altering?
Earth.altering, ALTERING.
Yeah, and I'll pop the links below. So I guess at the moment, there's a lot of opposing energies of people that I speak to, and just the general vibe is that it can be quite difficult to stay grounded and to, move through all of these energies. And to me, it feels like anybody who participates in something like this will get a benefit. So that's why I'm really excited for you to share the work that you do. But what's your main advice? What would you recommend to people, particularly at the moment when we're going through this time where it feels like there's all these different things and it's pretty chaotic energetically? There's a lot of noise. What are some things that you would recommend? What's any advice that you would give to people right now?
Yeah, I think for me, and I have been feeling that too, like everyone else as well, like it feels like there's a lot going on in so many different ways, and it can be hard to feel grounded and stay centered amongst it all. And I just feel like for me, it's always just connecting with nature is my biggest support. And I feel like I learned from actually I've always loved nature, and I've always been someone that has been drawn to going to the beach and going for walks in nature and things like a lot of people. But actually use nature as support was something that I had never really thought about before I got sick. And now I think thinking about it in that way, nature can support us, and nature is something that we can rely on, and it's something that's always there for us, and we can connect with it wherever we are, anytime. It can be really comforting to just remember that. And whether it is, putting your bare feet on the earth, or connecting with the sun, going and getting the sun on your skin, or going for a swim in the ocean, or even just going outside and breathing the fresh air into our lungs. Those elements are always around us, and they're always there for us. So I think just like remembering that nature's there for us to support us and inspire us and encourage us, almost like whatever we are needing, we can draw on nature from that. So I think my advice would just be to utilize that, because everyone can, wherever you are. Like, even if you're inside without any windows, you can visualize the earth energy that the earth holds, and you can kind of like visualize drawing that up into your body. And there's always ways that we can connect with it. And it I don't think there's many people that after connecting with nature don't feel like it has helped them to feel a bit more grounded or feel better in some way.
Yeah, I love that, because say people are living in a city, or, but I don't really have a lot of access to nature. It's like there's always something, whether you have a pot plant in your house, or whether you, like you're working in office, but you take that time to go out at your lunch break and be in the sun, or, breathe in the fresh air, like just to consciously, because I think there's opportunities in every day for people to have some connection, but often a whole day can go by and we haven't, particularly if you work in an office or something like that, you're in the artificial light, and and just to make that conscious effort of actually going and connecting, even if it's for 5-10 minutes, it's such a game changer for how your body is reacting. It could just be going outside and taking some breaths changes you from being in that fight or flight and really shifts everything through. So I love that you shared that piece about even the visualization of connecting if you're indoors and visualizing it. So that's really powerful.
Even looking out the window at the clouds, it's like a reset. I have a reminder on my phone to remind me to connect with nature, that goes off once a day. And whenever it goes off, I just stop. And wherever I am, like sometimes I could be in a shopping center when that goes off, and there's always ways that you can, even if it is breathing the air element into your body and just taking a moment to consciously do that. Really helpful.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Prue. It's been beautiful just exchanging with you. And every time I talk to you, I just love your energy and your presence. And I love what you're bringing to the world, which feels like something that we've always known, but just to have that reminder and that remembering of beautiful ways to connect. It's absolutely stunning. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. All right.
And I feel the same towards you as well. Like, thank you for world, and I can't wait to do more things with you together.
Thanks, Prue.
Thank you.